Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family. We have the Nations League coming up. I'm so excited because I was there for the quarterfinals. Those quarterfinals were absolutely insane. France versus Croatia, Spain versus Netherlands, Portugal versus Denmark, and it was Italy versus Germany. And we're into the semifinals of the Nations League. And the Nations League as a tournament, we started off as a friendly tournament. They made friendly games into a tournament, basically adding up. It's a watered down version of the Euros, you could say. It's basically the same, but dry-docked in longer times. Basically more like a Champions League, it feels more than a Euros. And the Nations League has never had more value. The value of the Nations League has just grown year by year by the teams, by the players. The players want to win the tournament more year by year. So steadily it's getting some kind of legacy. And this is obviously the best Nations League has ever been. The Nations League quarters were absolutely insane. So I'm expecting the same thing here for the semifinals. And we're here to predict the two semifinals. Germany versus Portugal is the first one we're going to start with. And I got both teams lineups here. Obviously, from the Paris Saint-Germain perspective, we have Nuno Mendes, we have Vitinha, João Neves should start the game. I mean, honestly, I would start Gonçalo Ramos if I was Portugal manager, because for me, starting Cristiano Ronaldo in these big tournaments, I don't care about friendlies in the qualification group stage and so on. In these kinds of games, it doesn't make any sense. We've seen that ever since the World Cup. Like the Euros in, 2021? I know Ronaldo scored some goals, maybe even finished the top scorer in that tournament. That was like the last time I saw Ronaldo being good. Ever since then, the World Cup in 2022, the recent Euros, and even the Nations League versus Denmark, he was so garbage. So I don't understand why Portugal are still starting with Cristiano Ronaldo in big 2025. I just don't understand it. He scored 30 goals in Saudi League. Okay, why isn't Benzema starting for France? Doesn't make any sense. Why isn't Ivan Toney, who scored 25 goals for El Ahly, start for England? Doesn't make any sense, right? So for me, that's the biggest thing when I'm looking at Portugal. Rafael Leao, in that game versus Denmark, he subbed out in the 62nd minute. He dropped one of the biggest stinkers I've seen. One of the biggest stinkers. So Rafael Leao has to cook in this game. Ronaldo will start, unfortunately, so he has to cook. This is a big game for Cristiano Ronaldo, big game for Rafael Leao, with his uncertain future at AC Milan as well. But Portugal's midfield should be Vitinha, Neves, Bruno Fernandes. That's one of the best international midfields in the world, if not the best. So that should be absolutely cooking. Nuno Mendes is basically the best, or at least top 3 player for this Portuguese national team. And after the season he's had with Paris Saint-Germain, I'm expecting Nuno to absolutely cook in this game too. But apart from that, their defense, their right back, their goalkeepers, they should just be doing enough trying to defend and so on. And then when you look at the Germany team, Germany, ever since Nagelsmann came in and Flick left, have been exciting to watch. At the Euros, they were obviously the best team alongside Spain. And we saw the Spain-Germany game. That was the tightest. And the game between both teams, that should have been maybe the Euros final. Those were the two best teams. And both teams played great football as well. Germany as well could have potentially gotten a penalty for that Musiala and Cucurella handball, and we could have potentially saw Germany lift the Euros. They obviously performed slightly better because it was home advantage. The Euros was in Germany. But I feel like Germany, quality-wise, is, I don't know. If you look at that 2014 team that won the World Cup and compare it to this, it doesn't even come close. But Germany, what I've seen is they're going through obviously a generation switch ever since they got knocked out in the group stage in 2018. They're trying to bring in the new generation like Schlotterbeck, Stiller, Wirtz, Musiala. Well, as you can see, who is this clean state they have a striker? Why is Baumann starting? So this Goretzka, Sané in big 2025, even Jonathan Tah. So they still have so many improvements to make individual ability-wise. But that just shows why Nagelsmann is such a great coach, why Nagelsmann has gotten them to this point, and for me are at least the top 5 favorite for the upcoming World Cup is because of Nagelsmann. He can get the best out of the players. And, they have also great individual ability. I think Wirtz obviously missed the game. He was injured. He will probably be back for this game. And look, I had my prediction when I made this video back in the day. I made a prediction right after the quarters, like a semi-final prediction, and I picked Germany. Germany, first of all, have a great track record versus Portugal. I think in their last 4 official games, Germany have beaten them. They beat them at the Euros. They slapped them in the World Cup in 2014. So they've just been owning Portugal for a while, and I think that could potentially continue. The individual talent in Portugal is better than Germany. But I've watched Portugal. I've watched them under Santos. I've watched them under now Roberto Martinez, and they do not play to their ability. They just don't play to their ability. That has to do with maybe Ronaldo starting, the manager not being that great. So it's a very tight game. It's a very tight game. This is not going to be some great victory or something. We even saw Italy, the comeback they made versus Germany in the quarter. So even Germany's side, there are some weaknesses. Portugal could win if Portugal players play like they should and play a little bit better. They can win this game. But I'm going to edge it to Germany to reach the Nations League final. Moving on to the second game, which has way more hype, way more narrative, way more discussions. It is obviously France versus Spain. And what a game we have ahead of ourselves. Let me just drag this here. You know what? We'll just make this smaller. It's France versus Spain. That don't matter that much. All right, we got both lineups right here. And wow. I'm so excited for this game. You have Spain, current Euros holders, who beat France in last Nations League semi-final, coming up against each other. This is a huge game. First of all, let me talk about Spain. Spain, Euros-wise, obviously they're going through some kind of... they've lost some players. Obviously, Laporte used to be a starting centre-back. At right back, they had Carvajal. He's obviously still out with the ACL. Rodri just came back through his ACL. And Morata is not a starter for the Spanish national team. So it's not the same team. And I did watch them versus Netherlands. Obviously, they went through. They were good. It was only on penalties. But I don't think the Spain team is as good as the Euros team. I do think they've gotten a little bit worse with, the player cycle and so on. But they're still one of the best national teams in the world. One of the best in Europe and so on. And they have a really great squad. Unai Simon in goal. Maybe I think David Raya should be the starting goalkeeper for Spain. I've seen that De La Fuente has a lot of La Liga bias when it comes to some players and so on. But I think David Raya is the best Spanish goalkeeper. He should be starting, but Unai Simon is still a good keeper. Looking at the defense, I have no clue why Alejandro Balde is not picked. I have no clue. Alejandro Balde is at least a top 3, top 5 left back in the world. How he's not starting for the Spanish national team makes absolutely zero sense. You can have Balde, Fabian, and Nico on that left-hand side. Like that triangle. Fabian with the controlling, and Fabian is such a great passer, especially to a runner. We've seen that to Barcola and Khvicha at Paris Saint-Germain. He could make some great passes to Balde and Nico Williams runs, and he would help Nico Williams' game and Fabian Ruiz's game if Alejandro Balde. But no, let's start Cucurella because there was a song around him at the Euros. Like, come on, man. Mingueza, right back, started obviously the second game versus Netherlands. They also got Pedro Porro. Just pick one. For the centre-backs, obviously you go with Lenormand, who was a starter at the Euros. And I do think next to him, it should be Pau Cubarsí. I think he has played in the most big games, especially compared to Huijsen. But Huijsen is still a great player. So I think, in my opinion, it should be Lenormand. Obviously, there's Inigo as well. If you want to go with the experience, you go with maybe Lenormand and Inigo. I mean, I think all those 4 centre-backs are good, and it's not that big of a downgrade going from one to the other. Going into the midfield, I don't know about Rodri, how much he's played, if he's ready to start a big game like this and lead the Spanish team. Obviously, Fabian Ruiz and Pedri, they are the 2 midfielders that definitely have to be there. And then I think if Rodri is good enough, fit enough, you play Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Pedri midfield. If Rodri is not fit, do you go with Zubimendi for the defense? Yeah, you probably do that. So you probably play Zubimendi, Fabian Ruiz, Pedri midfield for Spain, in my opinion. And up in attack, Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams. I don't know about the striker position. They obviously have Amordion or something from Porto. He could potentially start that game. I think you should, go with that front black 3. I think Spain should start push it. Like all of them extremely young and can be the front front 3 for Spain for the upcoming 5 to 10 years. Could be Oyarzabal that still starts the game. Nah, you know what? You could do Olmo false 9. Yeah, I would do Olmo false 9, going with the Pedri, Fabian Zubimendi midfield, and then Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams as wingers. I mean, we saw them at the Euros. One game Williams, one game Yamal. That will be very dangerous coming up against. Then we'll move away to France. As I said, France, since basically the Nations League in 2021, I haven't felt they've been that good. The World Cup, they were still good, but I feel with the talent they have, they should be better. And obviously, the recent Euros, they were absolutely diabolical. As in the first leg versus Croatia in the quarterfinals, they were absolutely woeful. Everyone was saying Deschamps out. This is what Deschamps has to do. What did Deschamps do? He actually listened. He went from, his usual boring, conservative 4-3-3 to this beautiful, vibrant 4-2-3-1 with basically 4 attackers. And this France, how they performed versus Croatia, that game was absolutely insane. Like Croatia, I can't remember a single thing they did. So like France are still very great defensively. Why? Because they have Koundé as their right back and Upamecano, Saliba, basically 3 center backs. They have Maignan in goal and they have a great double pivot. So France, even with the switch to 4-2-3-1, they're still basically a top 2, top 3 defensive team in the World Cup, in the world as a national team, basically because of their individual brilliance, like the quality and the talent that they have, and then getting the best out of their attackers, because France has the most stacked attack in the world once again. But going strictly from the defense up to the attack, Maignan in goal, obviously huge. We can always put question marks on Maignan for AC Milan. He's making some stupid mistakes here and there. But for France, ever since he's taken that number 1 from Lloris, he's been absolutely exceptional. Koundé as a right back, coming off a great season with FC Barcelona, he'll be very good. Upamecano, Saliba, very great centre-back partnership. I do think it should be Upamecano, Konate, Saliba. I don't think he's right at that level. If you have a Konate available, this is what Deschamps looks to be going with. Left back, obviously, Theo Hernandez just joined Al Hilal. Could be Digne, could be Theo. Theo hasn't had the best season. Don't matter that much. I mean, it will matter that much because they were coming up against Lamine Yamal. So, you know what? At least put Theo Hernandez. He has the pace, at least, to recover Yamal in that way. Tchouameni, Kone. Nah, it should be Tchouameni. I don't want to say it, man. I don't want to say it, but I guess Rabiot, Tchouameni, Rabiot, double pivot. That would be good experience, and so on. Tall, defensive. But this is when we come to the delicious part of the French national team. That attack. Bam, 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 bada, bam. The Olise Dembouz dual 10s that were interchanging was amazing to see. Olise obviously scored a goal and got the assist to the Dembouz goal. That should 100% be there once again. Olise Dembouz doing that. And Mbappe, you have to have him up top. Even though he didn't score in that game, he was found in many spaces. He was making a lot of great runs. So you got to have Mbappe. And then on the left side, Barcola obviously started that game. Doué came on and had a great cameo. And I think, with Doué, what he's done in the UCL this season, it has to be Desiree Doué on the left-hand side. But then you also got Bradley Barcola. You also got Ryan Cherki coming off the bench. So the France team is absolutely stacked. And once again, as I said in my prediction video back then, nothing has changed. I do predict France to go through. I think France, that Croatia performance, if they can replicate something like that in this game, they are going to win. Spain, despite them being really great, they're going to put out a great test. They're going to show that experience from winning the last Euros. But I have France as my winners in this game. But I'm so excited for this game because, first of all, it will be a great footballing game. Footballing game, great. And then it's the narratives. You have Lamine Yamal, you have Fabian Ruiz, you have Pedri, you have Ousmane Dembele, you have Kylian Mbappe, you have Olise, you got Doué, you got Opa, you got Kubarsi, you got Saliba, you got Lenormand, Maignan, Simon, Rodri, Olmo, Tchouameni. It's a crazy game. I cannot wait. Obviously, a lot of Barca and Yamal fans, they are excited for this game because of the Ballon d'Or. I'm excited for this game because of the football. And, all the top players that are going to play in this game. And not just top players, but players that are heavily talked about, like Yamal and Ousmane Dembele. And basically all the PSG players after that UCL run. But, yeah, I cannot wait for this game. This will be a great game. Actually, I just remembered Koundé is out for the game. It will probably be Gusto from Chelsea, who was just picked. But, yeah, that's been it for my predictions. But we're going to do a score prediction. The first one, Germany-Portugal. I'm going to give it to Germany. Germany 2-1. France, Spain. This could be a goal fest. I'm gonna pick France. France 3-1. France 3-1 and Germany 2-1. They meet in the final. We'll come to the final predictions after, this tie has been played. But I will do a live watch along 100% for the France-Spain game. Not entirely sure for the Germany-Portugal game for tomorrow, but maybe. That's been it from boy PSG. Hopefully, guys, have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what 2 teams will be facing each other in the Nations League final. That's been it from boy PSG. And as usual, allez, Paris.